Good morning and welcome to the Amazing AI PLC investor presentation. Throughout this recorded presentation, investors will be in listen-only mode. Questions are encouraged and could be submitted at any time via the Q&A tab situated on the right-hand corner of your screen. Simply type in your questions and press send. The company may not be in a position to answer every question it receives during the meeting itself. However, the company can review all questions submitted today and publish responses where appropriate to do so. Paul is currently in the Philippines and there is a typhoon expected in the area, so please do bear with us if connectivity is lost. Before we begin, I'd like to submit the following poll. I'd now like to hand you over to Paul Matheson, founder and CEO. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Thank you. So I can kick off now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Excellent. So thank you, investors who have joined, existing investors or potential investors. The idea of today is to give a bit more detail about the background of myself, the company, and probably of more interest is our new crypto treasury aspect to the company. So hopefully you can see the slides here. So I'll go through quite quickly and allow a lot of time for questions from people. So to kick it off. So in essence, Amazing AI PLC, we're listed on Aquis under code AAI. Our company is a crypto treasury and AI financial services innovator across many spectrums. But our whole mission, or my mission of 30 years, has been all about maximizing upside and limiting the downside in whatever we do. So the foundation of that is across our core lending, across our developing AI services business, and our new crypto treasury side. Legal disclaimer for everyone to read on the presentation later. So my background, so I'm the founder, CEO, largest shareholder. I own 38.1% of the company. I've never sold a share in the business over all these many years. I've recently provided a $5 million debt facility to the company that is undrawn at the moment. So we currently sit debt-free. So we have no debt, we have no creditors. We're in a very strong position. We have lots of cash after our recent capital raise, and we're looking at expanding that base position very quickly in our business developments. I've got 30 years industry experience across many sectors. Originally started in stock market research and corporate finance in Australia and investment banking. I quit that industry as the youngest investment banker at 25 and set up my own funds management business, where I created a unique strategy using derivatives in a funds management business to create investors 500% over 5 years. So I back tested that strategy, and that is what they made, and that is the foundation of our current shareholding base. The key to our strategy was using out-of-the-money call options. So in essence, replicated old school strategies of protected equity margin loans, where people would buy stock, get a loan to get the leverage. So instead of that, I created a bundled portfolio where we would buy long-dated call options and achieve the same exposure at a much lower cost. So competitors, investment banks, were selling that product at 200,000. We were selling it at 50,000, and by avoiding the wastage of corporate costs of inefficient structure, and we made investors a lot of money. So those investors were then willing to back me in the company, and I set up Amazing Loans in Australia in 2005. We become a very large lender, old school, using brick and mortar. I then decided to move to the US in 2008 and establish Mr. Amazing Loans, where that company is now 100% owned by the Amazing AI PLC, that you are an investor of, or hopefully will become one of. We also have been involved since 2018 in crypto-related projects, and we have 3 tiers of our business. But finishing off on my background, also Masters of Finance, I was awarded Ernst & Young Entrepreneur of the Year prize in 2007 for the success of both the lending business and also for the derivatives funds management business. We have a very experienced board and management team. So we have Neil Patrick as the chairman, who's been involved in consumer credit for many years. Glendis has been involved driving our company in the US since 2011. Also our CFO. We've recently hired a couple of guys with very extensive experience in AI and also in selling AI services. The corporate structure, for those who haven't looked at it, so the listed vehicle owns 100% of everything in our group. So as I said, we have 100% of our US lending company that's been around since 2008. The core product or offering from that company is to basically lend out doing $5,000 to $10,000 loans over 5 years at 39.9 to 59.9% interest rates. So it's very high margin, very high returns, and has been the core of our sort of foundation for many years. Going forward, we've just set up amazing AI services that will leverage off the background of our experience in lending to not just be an IT group that's trying to sell services to a new bank or so forth. We actually have the experience of lending over 20 years, and we've selling our sophisticated AI and lending systems into those groups. We chose Mauritius because it's on the regulatory side, it's like the Singapore and Hong Kong of Asia, except in Africa, but it can sell into Africa, Middle East, India, Philippines, and other areas. And it's very attractive on a tax front for the corporation. And additionally, it's also very crypto friendly. So it works very well with our strategy of where we hold our underlying crypto assets, where we hold them not in UK, but we hold them in our 100% owned subsidiary that then is not restricted or come under additional restrictions from the UK. So getting back to Mr. Amazing Loans, which has been the core, it's been licensed since 2010. Fast, fair, and friendly is our philosophy. So customers have liked our product because we have structured it not like traditional payday loans where you have to pay it back in a few weeks, very high interest rates. We have structured it over 5 years where we get the return, but it's a fair product to the customer. We've been fully licensed the entire time, very advanced technology. As I said before, very high margins and attractive product. The amazing AI services, the initial expansion we're looking at is into Nigeria and Philippines. Philippines is very advanced on the take-up for digital services, but does not have the sophisticated underwriting and other regimes that we've developed in the US and UK. And Nigeria we see as the same. So we see many opportunities there. In terms of what's probably of most interest to people joining today is Crypto Treasury 3.0. There's been a buzz in other Bitcoin or crypto treasury companies in the UK and globally. We believe we're not just 2.0, we're 3.0. The reasons for that are we're utilizing our strong funds management and derivative experience that we've developed to apply that not just over blue chip stocks, but over crypto assets. We have a different approach. We don't think that you should just buy and hold, hope that Bitcoin goes up. We think you should be able to win whether Bitcoin goes up or down a lot over the long term. But not just Bitcoin. It should be diversified into other crypto assets so that one of a basket of 5 could go well up or well down and we would make money. The people who are fanatical about Bitcoin only believe that Bitcoin goes to 13 million and everything else goes to 0. Whereas we think we have a much more balanced approach where that may be true, but we don't want to be exposed to a sole asset. So we have other cryptos. They have other different use cases, different risks. So Bitcoin, for instance, a lot of people don't talk about quantum computing and how it could be totally hacked within the next 2 years, which a number of people have described to me. People don't talk about if the Bitcoin miners get bombed in a war, what would actually happen. So other cryptos have separate advantages. While Bitcoin is great, we think you should diversify. The approach of us is to utilize our experience in long-term exposure using previous strategies that we've successfully employed. We're also looking at some of the aspects of AI learning and how that could enhance things. We've obtained full legal advice on everything we do before we do it, and we'll continue to. So it's been all fully approved on our side. The stock exchanges are reticent about having just crypto play companies or Bitcoin play companies. So the fact that we have a core revenue generating operation in lending and soon to be AI services, we think enhances our profile and attractiveness to investors without upsetting regulators and exchanges. We're very focused on risk management. So our custodian is BitGo, who is the biggest custodian of crypto assets in the world, and our suppliers of assets on the other side are the biggest players from UK to the US in terms of purchases and implementing our strategy. We have we're only going to go into established cryptocurrencies that meet the requirements of the exchanges at this stage and have good liquidity and good ability to implement our strategies. We plan to start purchasing and implementing our strategy in the next couple of weeks, starting with Bitcoin. So I hope that gives a good initial overview of the company, and I guess we get into questions. So just looking now at what we have. So I'll read out the questions that we have so far. There's quite a few. So Will has said, what competitive advantage do you think you have against other companies in the space? So I think I've described it in that our strategy is something that a mum and dad or small investor cannot implement. In order to do these sophisticated strategies, you need to have significant minimum investments. So my strategy back in 25 years ago required a minimum 100, 200, 300,000 investment to even put on one trade in the strategy. So for a small investor, you're not, if you don't have access to that capital, A, you can't do it. B, even if you're a high net worth, Do you want to expose yourself to that much on one trade in your own right, or do you want to buy into a company that's doing it on an ongoing basis? And thirdly, a lot of these, back in 25 years ago, a lot of these, options and derivative strategies, you cannot actually, they don't exist. You have to get them created by going to the leading players with size to get them to actually write the other side of the deal. So it's, a traditional crypto company, anyone can go and buy, $1 of Bitcoin, but you can't go and buy $500,000 of exposure in our sophisticated strategies. So I think that is a very important aspect. Second question, how often do you seek updated legal advice as you expand beyond Bitcoin? Well, everything we do, we always get advice before we do it. So as per our recent announcements, we will not go beyond Bitcoin before getting further advice. We've had preliminary advice, and we don't anticipate any issues on the rest of our basket, but we will not actually execute a trade before getting full legal sign-off and coordinating with exchanges and advisors before we actually do it, which is what we did with our recent advice with Bitcoin exposure. Our next question. What measures are in place to protect against cyber attacks and theft? Well, that is why we hired the #1 crypto custodian in the world. Shout out to BitGo, who are the #1 in the world. So we have, that's why we signed with them. They have all of their procedures, protocols, and backups. They basically run nuclear bunkers out of multiple jurisdictions, from US to Singapore to Dubai to Germany, armed guards, full cold wallets. So we're not dealing with exchange risk or anything else. So they are the best of what they do. As we get larger, we will look to even have a second backup group, because even in their words, they say, you should always have a secondary group. But in terms of where we currently are, we're very happy not to have exchange risk, hacking risk, and be dealing with the best. And we've recently announced our sign up with them. New question, Steve. So have your previous shareholders who you made 500% for backed this venture? Yes, well, certainly they have. So the current shareholding structure is 38.1% owned by myself. I've never sold a share. I'm independently wealthy. I've backed this venture 100%, not just as CEO. I think, as one of my investors said, I'm the jockey, the horse, the saddle, the whip, the entire thing. So I'm in here for the long term. I've recently announced I provided a $5 million debt facility to the company, which is currently undrawn. We currently have zero debt, zero creditors, and totally bulletproof in that sense of things. And over time, I'll be expanding my facility both in executing this strategy and also in our core 59% per annum generating US lending business. The backers of us, the major shareholders, other than myself, they still have certificates. They haven't even converted to Crest. They're not even interested. It's selling anywhere near these levels. They've made a lot of their money from my previous business, and they're backing me all the way. Phil, in principle, this is a strong concept, but at this stage, it remains just that, an idea. Until you're able to actually deploy capital into a 100x leverage call option, it's all hypothetical. Why push the PR before securing the position? it's only natural that investors will remain cautious until there's concrete execution behind the strategy. Fair question, Phil. I've been hopping around with two hands tied behind my back and jumping on one foot, but making sure that we do navigate through those issues, and which is why we, after our initial placement, we waited for the green light from regulators, exchanges, before announcing our recent RNS, where we said what we're doing. And even in the recent raising, funds have only just arrived. So as per our announcement, we plan to deploy the first lot of capital within the next couple of weeks, and we will do that. Next question. Many questions. Another Will. How do you respond to concerns about the volatility and risks of crypto? Well, the risks are, yes, obviously there's a lot of volatility, but volatility leads to opportunity. And my strategies from many years before capitalized on that volatility and the opportunity. So getting involved in an asset class that is very volatile, but having a strategy that is all long-term focused over 5 years minimum is very different to most people in the marketplace. The option traders selling options. They're interested in their bonus in December. I'm interested in building this up over 5, 10, 20 years. The same as my AI services business that's expanding into Africa and Philippines and other areas. I have a 10-year-old son, and I'm helping build that up for generational wealth, not for expecting great gains in the next 5 minutes. So everything I've done is over the long term. Funds management, 5-year options, long-term shareholder base, people who have backed me over 20 years. So I'm hoping that new UK investors will come along for the ride and have a similar view. Next question from Steve. Is there any cheaper money under 1p or warrants outstanding? So there's 0 warrants, options, preference shares, executive shares, anything else. So this is the most clean small cap structure probably in all of UK. I don't need any extra warrants, options, incentives. I'm already owned 38.1%. I founded the company. I'm independently wealthy. So I'm not like your 1% CEO that's creates a company and lives off the lunches. I mean, that's very, very far from my reality. And so we have none of that. And there's no chance of doing any raising anywhere near 1p in this company because I don't want to be diluted. So I have, with my debt facility in place, a lot of flexibility around next corporate moves in this company. And, we will move forward. That's in the best interests of all the shareholders, including me as the major one, and my long-term Australian backers and my new good UK backing friends. I didn't mention about our, Treasury 3.0. There's multiple avenues beyond just, our unique strategy. There's also the aspects of consolidation in the sector. So, these crypto 1.0 are sort of shares are collapsing, and there could be an opportunity for us to potentially buy, sell out their strategy, strip their assets, and convert it into what we think is a much better strategy. So we have many, and I have a very strong M&A background as well. So there's many opportunities here, I hope this has been good. Is there any more questions before we leave?
Paul, thank you for answering all those questions you can from investors. And of course, the company can review all questions submitted today and will publish those responses on the Investor Meet Company platform. Just before redirecting investors to provide you with their feedback, which I know is particularly important to the company, could I please just ask you for a few closing comments?
I think there's one last question. Can we fit one more in?
Yes.
So I had a question from Steve. So you're expecting to raise more money at significant premium to last raise. So I guess that that would be the aim. It comes down to the perception from investors. We would expect that if they can understand the strategy and the leverage from what we're obtaining, the fact that a normal treasury company with 1 million of exposure or capital raising ends up with 1 million of Bitcoin. With our unique strategy, we can potentially have 100 million of exposure with only 1 million of capital. So we are very different. So it's a balancing, I think, between getting the message out, getting exposure to retail investors, but any large capital raisings, you would expect at much higher levels. Otherwise, we could deploy our own debt capital or be patient and wait for our strategy to be executed. Thank you.
Thanks, Paul. Thanks for answering those questions. Could I please just ask you for a few closing comments just before we redirect investors to provide you with their feedback?
What was that, sorry?
Just a few closing comments before we redirect investors.
Yes, so I think that the key message to get out to people is that it's all about the philosophy. Our company mission is maximize upside, limit downside on all aspects of what we do, and we have a proven history of doing that. And we hope that you understand what our strategy is and come along for the ride.
Paul, thank you for updating investors today. Now, please ask investors not to close this session, as you'll now be automatically redirected to provide your feedback in order that the management team can better understand your views and expectations. This will only take a few moments to complete, and I'm sure will be greatly valued by the company. On behalf of the management team of Amazing AI PLC, we'd like to thank you for attending today's presentation, and good morning to you all.